but so far none of the other teams have really stood out on it as this is a favorite of theirs. But the One have had very good experiences here in the past, so it's not too surprising that they do wish to go here.
And what's really cool about the One as well is that you can normally guess which route or which play style they want to go for, judging from the draft they pick, right? If you have, let's say, an early Arthas, it could really cater towards, once again, those Illidan plays that we're so on the lookout for, right? Beyond the Game, on the other hand, they're a little bit less predictable, I would say, which doesn't render the One any less scary, though, because although the One is sometimes easy to figure out in the draft, the same doesn't necessarily apply in the game, because it's so hard to shut them down when they feel comfortable on their picks.
That is true. That is true. So with Hanzo gone, what would the One respond with? They've likely seen the previous series, so they are probably going to have seen how scary Stukov can be. Yeah. Once again, none of these players are ZZH, but Druid has had very good experience on the hero in the past.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think Druid is one of those rising players, finding back to the good shape that he had at the end of last year. Dancing as well. I think Druid and Dancing, those two players, are definitely some of the key players for Beyond the Game to rely on at the moment. Whereas the One, they're just a more consistent team with several players being counted as the absolute top of the region at their roles. Now the Garrosh is taken out, and this is already so interesting now, Tetcher. We don't see Garrosh for the first time at all today, and we're not going to see Hanzo, so many exotic picks, or maybe some of the exotic picks are going to shine through again now that the go-to warriors and one of the go-to ranged assassins are no longer in the mix.
Quite possibly. Let us find out where that leads us. Perhaps jumping back to the Tracer like the first series, Malfurion could lead us in that direction, as it is picked up first for BTG, so we're going to get the Druid.
Now, what we saw earlier by CE, of course, was that cheeky Varian pick against the early Tracer. Now, I wonder how many teams have actually practiced with the newly reworked Varian. As you guys know, just in case you were tuning in a little bit later, we're playing on the current patch without Phoenix, however. So we do have the reworked Varian, we do have the changed Tracer, we also do have a couple of other changes next to it, and unfortunately we also have, or seem to have, a slightly bugged UI. So just in case you're not blind, you're not going crazy, we're not going to be able to track cooldowns on the heroic abilities as well today.
Yeah, we gotta just rely on our own brains, which are in different variations of failing states between the two of us. As we do wait to see what the next two picks are. But they could go for the Tracer here, considering it is the ban phase next. They could remove, say, one of the bigger issues like that variant if they wished to. But no, Cassia and Malthael coming out here. So Cassia is usually, in the past, seems to only really be picked as like a counter to very auto-attack heavy compositions. The BTG are just picking it out of nowhere.
Yeah, BTG are picking it out of nowhere. As you said, Cassia normally a very reactionary hero, right? You see a lot of auto attacks or auto attack damage on the enemy team side. You go for the blinds, you go for the physical armor from your trade, and then you counter them. But picking her as a second pick into the blind, if you will, against a Genji, who could very well just go Dragonblade and ruin her life, is quite the gamble here. And if you think back to the Eastern Clash, where we had player interviews, some of the Korean teams, and even some of the Chinese teams or Chinese players as well, they were saying that the focus on Cassia in the Chinese region is still one of their biggest weaknesses that they need to overcome, because Korean teams know exactly how to play against her, and even in China, the pick is nearly as successful as it used to be at the beginning of middle of 2017. So if Cassia can make that comeback or not remains to be seen.
She's good in double support compositions, but this isn't a double support composition, unlikely. It could be, I guess. But we're going to see a Nubarak as one of the bans here. BTG should probably ban out Tyrael or Blaze in this current scenario, because they need, if they intend on going Tormented Souls, or even the Last Rites, they need to remove one of those easy counter heroes.
Alright, Nubarak taken out. Of course, the Cocoon could be ever so annoying for the Genji player if he's planning on using the Dragon's Blade, which I think against Acacia and Amalfi he definitely should. Up to this point, there's hardly any punishing potential for a Genji that goes in deep with the Dragon Blade, with the exception of Malfurion maybe silencing him, but normally dodging around one heroic ability shouldn't be the hardest thing to do in the world. Now, on the other hand, what is the One trying to go for here? They could actually still go for heroes like Leoric. I wouldn't even hate that. Leoric, trap them in an Entomb and then follow up on it. They go for the Abathur ban, which is fine. Definitely an okay one. Abathur, of course, on Sky Temple can be ever so annoying in the late game with that mule.
That's fair. Double Genji is pretty scary.
True.
Yeah, I can see reasoning behind that. I'm pretty happy with. That's a solid ban by BTG. It doesn't. Once again, the easy counter tanks are still available now. So, like, my ideal scenario here would be if the one picked a second damage dealer now and Tyrael. Or Blaze, actually. Blaze, because that way they secure a solo laner. And Blaze can sort of main tank. And that still leaves them open for their second tank to really work with what they're up against, work out what's going to be best for the final two picks of BTG.
Yeah, Blaze is a fantastic call here. I think you're definitely onto something here. Not only because he's great all around with a bunker against Malthael, for example, if you just want to dodge the Last Rites or the Tormented Souls, regardless of what they end up picking, but also because most of his damage comes or derives from abilities, right? So if Cassia stands in the fire, she will take just normal damage because her trait only works against physical attacks. Now, the Blaze could still be an option. They're keeping their offlaner hidden for now. The Tyrael already could cater towards that, right? The infamous Blaze Tyrael combo.
Exactly. This is exactly what I wanted them to do. Hiding their last pick. It leaves them so open. The Blaze if they need more protection. An ETC perhaps if they need more hard engage or anything like that. A Varian if BTG go triple assassin and pull out the Tracer. They've given themselves options here, and that's much harder to do with an assassin than it is to do with a tank.
Yeah, varied up to this point. Of course, would struggle a little bit against the Malthael, but he would be very resilient against the Cassia. Furthermore, he could lock her down with a taunt, reducing all of the armor that she gets, the physical armor that she gets. And the Junkrat altogether is so good against Cassia as well. Superior range. Keep in mind that Junkrat, in terms of range, is one of the strongest and most efficient heroes in the game, and Cassia has a rather short range to even get to him. But the Medivh has been deployed alongside the Diablo, potentially, you know, paving the way, Tetra, for some fiery combos.
The Medivh. The Diablo's fine. I have no issue with the Diablo, but the Medivh, we were just talking about Cassie is pretty decent in a double support comp, and here is what is about as close to a support as you can be without actually being a support. And it's not a terrible comp that they have, but I have one statement and question for it. Why wouldn't you just go Valor with new buffs? If you really want to commit to that potential almost a double support vibe, why would you not go for the clearly safer hero?
Instead of the Cassia, right? Okay.
Yes.
I thought instead of the Medivh.
Not over Medivh. No, never over Medivh.
No, I totally hear you. Like, Vala is in a weird spot right now where the double support meta has kind of vanished for the most part, and she only really used to get maximum value there. But with the Medivh, maybe they could have done it. On the other hand, I think Cassia is a little bit more stable. So the Valkyrie could also be a nice engaging tool against someone like Junkrat, who's really far in the backline normally. But once again, the composition that TheOne have drafted here is so resilient. Divine Shield, Sanctification, Sonya's hard to take down in the first place. Genji is so mobile. Junkrat is so mobile. Who are they actually going to hope to catch? So although they do have the potential of Leyline plus Apocalypse, right, which is one of the most fearsome combos in the game, they need to catch people first. And that's not going to be an easy thing to do.
I don't know. Just the Cassia is so concerning for me. It's a cool hero. It's going to be very well protected, but there are other assassins. Tychus would have been fine, even if you're not playing, even if you're not picking it into tanks. If you're picking it first, Greymane as well. There are so many better options. I feel for what they could have done here and still have almost the exact same draft. The only thing they do lose is that Valkyrie. So if they pick Ball Lightning, I am just going to flip this desk because I will be very upset. I'm not going to flip it. It's really expensive. But
the thing is, even if they win Ball Lightning, what value could it get, right? As we said, there's so many high mobility heroes that could easily dodge it. Then we have Tyrael shields with Justice for All being a little bit weaker than before, only applying 75% of the shields to nearby allied heroes. It's still going to be enough to dampen some of the initial burst damage it comes with, right? So the Cassia, maybe they can prove us wrong. I really hope they are able to do exactly that. But we're going right into the action of game number one between Beyond the Game and TheOne. On the left-hand side is the Blue Boys. Beyond the Game, 619 on the Dibbles. We have LLK on the Medivh. Druid is on, well, Malfurion, dancing on the Cassia, and Lai on Malthael.
And on the right, it is the One, with Hugo on the Sonya, Lucky on the Junkrat, Meng on the the Genji, sorry, ZJZ on the Uther, and Hehe is playing the Tyrael.
Hehe back in the mix. A player that I wanted to focus on a little bit more as well, because he's always been one of those up and down warriors, I feel like. He's had his ups and downs. We weren't really sure how strong he was at times, right? Because he had sometimes really questionable moves and wonky performances on the certain tanks. But then again, he had those Anub'arak plays, he had those Arthas plays. You were like, man, this guy is actually really good and makes Hugo shine like a diamond. And I wonder which Hehe we're going to see today.
Mana regen Burb coming in for Medivh here as LLK jumps back into the sky. Going to keep himself nice and sustained as much as possible. So I'm starting to... So, for starters, the One have actively built into being countered by Cassia. If you look at some of these level 1 talents, we see the Hammer of the Lightbringer for Uther, Warpaint for Sonya. They have other talents, and they're all pretty good. I don't know why they would actively choose to build into this.
Yeah, I mean, Hammer of the Lightbringer is an interesting one. All the Asian Uthers, almost all the Asian Uthers, seem to prioritize that one. Meng, by the way, takes a lot of damage from that Malthael passive. Now, makes it to safety, though. Medivh, in particular, going to be such an interesting hero to follow. He went for the additional sustain, while in Raven form, by the way, more mana regen and more health regen. So he's going to be able to fly around the map and always come out sustained, ideally. Cassia, by the way, didn't go for the Q build, didn't go for Thunderstroke. Instead, she went for the Charged Strikes, which provides her with a little bit more single target burst damage, potentially AoE target burst damage if the enemy team comes up.
Indeed. So very much going for the getting stuck in style of Cassia, which makes a lot of sense with Medivh, probably going to be arcane explosions and stuff like that. So she's going to have a pretty reasonable time. We're going to be standing at the back end poking Cassia. Her job is likely going to be to either ruin Uther's day or ruin Genji's day. Those are the two targets she's really going to be able to try and pressure.
Yeah. Now, the level 1 talent by Malthael is really interesting to highlight as well. It is Fear the Reaper, which is the movement speed and collision ignore, or body block ignore, if you will, when that is activated, which normally leads to a Tormented Souls playstyle. You pop that and it just walls into the enemy team's backline. However, it could also be a mind game, right? It could also be like, I'm going to pick Fear the Reaper, so the enemy team expects me to go Tormented Souls. Whatever may be the case, we're going to keenly observe.
See the Watchtower retaken here by Meng as he's trying to look for an opportunity to catch someone out. Instead, he's just going to eat a tower shot as he pushes up with the rest of his team. Easy shield on Tyrael, though, and the heal from Uther makes that not so bad. But we're going to see the entire front wall here get taken out as BTG kind of on the back foot.
Yeah, and that is, of course, a scary push with Tyrael still providing massive shields to heroes, minions, and mercenaries alike. Now, Uther is in trouble. The portal is good. Uther falls, is still alive to heal, though.
And they're looking for more. ZZH would be the person to go for here, as they look for it, but no, they instead get the flip onto Hehe, who is easily the most mobile outside of Genji and is able to escape via Eldarin's Might.
Yeah, so it was Sonya that fell after all. Of course, no trade value for her, unfortunately. Lucky is doing a really good job using the Concussion Mine to get those mercenaries closer to the towers, so he has an easier time clearing those. But yeah, really good retaliation here by Beyond the Game, getting that kill on the Sonya early, rendering the backline exposed and vulnerable, and then with the help of the portals, they can actually chase them down really nicely. Diablo didn't even get caught off guard here as well, because the Force of Will is so good. So this is probably going to be a very balanced temple phase. Top and middle are split. 619 gets the combo.
Not enough for the kill, though. Meng is able to escape. Medivh, the classic Arcane Explosion Raven Familiar combo. The huge burst damage you can do with this if you're able to line up with your team. Interesting seeing a bird flying around another bird there for a little bit. As Hehe just holding down top lane while Sonya is holding down the objective. It's going to be a full trade with BTG grabbing all of mid and the One probably getting all of top. There's not a rotation from BTG to the point where they're showing any intention of contesting.
Yeah, the cool thing for the one here was that they got so much damage done earlier with the help of the Merc Camp that they were actually able to destroy the first building. Now Medivh going in with a shield on himself doesn't really bother the stun too much. Here we see the Raven familiar that Catcher pointed out earlier with the Arcane Explosion. The AoE damage can be real right now. But,
Indeed, and the chase potential as well.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
the fact is, it seems counterintuitive to dance back through a portal away from your enemies when you're chasing them. But the reason they're doing it is to continuously get that 30% slow that the Raven Familiar can offer to increase their chasing potential for the entire team.
All right, so not only do the birds peck at you, but they also slap you pretty hard with movement speed slow. So let's see, Genji going in, trying to bait a little something here, but the follow-up was not good enough, and Medivh would have been there after all anyways. 5-man push, or 5-man assault actually coming into this bottom lane. Beyond the game is determined, but as a result, they're losing a lot of XP in the middle and top lane that they cannot soak. They're already slightly behind in experience, so level 10 should be here just a smidge earlier for the one.
Also, on a very important note here, Medivh has done finished Arcade Rift as Malthael goes down. But Medivh finishing Arcane Rift means he's allowed to be a little bit more aggressive and also very quick in terms of stacking.
Ooh, you're absolutely right. So Divine Shield is here, Wrath of the Berserker as well. They're trying to force something. They're trying to make something happen here at the boss area. Without Malthael, I think Beyond the Game realizes, you know what, we can't even do that. Without level 10, we can't do anything either. So this was a cheeky yet calculated boss call. No Leyland Seal to stop them. No Apocalypse here to zone them out. So well played. And with the Sanctification, they could have even dodged all of those tools anyways.
Yeah, like I said, without 10, 4v5, that would have been suicide to move in, and as such the one making the most of the advantage they had. And are now going to start taking shots as well, because there is a boss raining hate onto the lane of BTG here.
Yeah, this is just perfect timing. The boss and the temple and the heroes of the one supporting this push as well. They are dealing a lot of damage to that bottom fort already. They could even get middle if they maintain the majority of the shots and don't make them waste on the bottom. There we go. 50% of the shots still available. Malthael actually clearing middle in the meantime. So it's still a 5 versus 4 up to this point. The minion scouting. Diablo.
Kendrick's Ball Lightning, and I am upset as Hugo is trying to hold the line right now, basically on his own, as we see comes the Riptire. That will get interrupted because the Apocalypse does land unlucky here. The push is good, and BTG are able to take control of the position, at least for now.
Tetcher, we don't see it on the UI right now, but the cooldown trade was massively in favor of the one, though. Apocalypse just to counter a Riptire, which is like 40-second cooldown, is not worth it. And now the one can go in much more aggressively. They do exactly that with the Sanctification here. Tranquility is trying to keep everyone alive for Beyond the Game, but the one is in the driver's seat.
That's a good ley line, but the Divine Shield Dragon Blade was still just paused as it gets one. Force of Will delaying it, though. Down goes Tyrael, down goes Sonya with Diablo getting a good suplex, but Tyrael takes out Cassia on his way out.
Uther healing, got the movement speed from the level 4 talent, the Pursuit of Justice. Here comes Genji. He's not done yet.
They got it.
To have the deflect. Oh!
They just wiped him. Good job, BTG. Clutch move by Medivh and Malthael to turn that round.
Wow. That was super scary because I already saw the Tranquility not being able to heal enough, and then I saw Genji getting reset, but here came the big Leyline Seal followed by the Cassia Ball of Lightning. And although I agree with you, I would have much rather seen a Valkyrie, I think the Ball of Lightning in this team fight here specifically dealt a lot of damage.
Especially seeing as the Sanctification was sort of just Tyrael's own little sanctuary there. He really did not drop that anywhere near the rest of his team.
Yeah, Tranquility was a little curious, let's put it this way. Of course, I get the logic behind it, like trying to out-sustain the poke from the Junkrat and maybe just trying to brute force their way through the Sanctification, right? But you're facing a Dragon Blade Genji. You need that silence to really keep him in check. And if the teamfight hadn't gone a little bit lucky there as well for Beyond the Game, I think they could have actually gotten wiped super early. So still an even game, 13-13. Structure-wise, we're seeing a slight advantage for the one. But I think Beyond the Game, they have what it takes to turn it around in their favor.
They certainly do. Considering they won the last fight, the shots are spawning in 12 seconds. They're going to be able to, at minimum, trade, which is going to kill bottom fort, which will give them a nice boost in XP. Mid fort will probably die as well on the from the one's shots, so XP lead is going to be kept pretty even, I would say, or the XP deficit either way.
Two temples. Are we going to see another brutal team fight, or are we going to see two teams who are just sharing the temple values? Sun is already in the bottom. So the one, they just want to poke here a little bit, right? They want to be like, you know what, we're just going to be annoying. Just going to poke a little bit here, but we don't want to commit. By the same token, though, they need to be extremely careful not to get engaged on by a Leyline Seal Apocalypse. Like, that could always happen. You know, beyond the game, they see that the bottom temple is firing, so they know it would be a 5 versus 4 in their favor. So if the Birdman is on point, he can actually cause another good team fight for beyond the game.
Where is mid temple firing? Oh, it's firing at top. I was confused because there's no visual indicator on the map, it seems. But it's going to be top going down as well. And
you're right.
Are there enough shots to potentially kill bot as well? That's going to be close with the final 5.
Yeah.
Top and not bot. Okay, so top goes down. Bottom is still alive, but that's going to be killable for BTG, which is probably going to even up XP.
And now there's only one objective left available. That one mercenary camp, of course, the one they know exactly where their opponents are, but they're trying to probably go for their own mercenary camp if they've got the timers unlocked. Junkrat rotating, jumping, concussioning himself around the map. Of course, thanks to Ripper Air, he's going to be much faster in that regard.
We have Lunging Strike coming in for Cassia. I don't think I've ever seen this talent used in a professional game. Increase Fenn's range and area by 20%, and I'm pretty sure it increases the duration as well by like half a second.
Thing is, if you go for Lunging Strike, hold that thought, Tyrael gets engaged on. Are we going to see another outburst? Holy Ground keeping him safe for now. I think Diablo 619 is very patient when it comes to, you know, just trying to instill a little bit of fear on their opponent's hearts. Like trying to go into the Shadow Charge, but not following it up. I think they want to wait for the 16-2. And of course, he wants to get a couple of stacks on the Devastating Charge, right? 13-16, that is the dream for any Diablo player.
Exactly, and he's already got at least one from that last previous tackle. So good job there. Good start for 619.
The boss is available. Medivh is carefully scouting it out, though. It's so annoying when you have that little raven flying above you, dropping sprays, and I don't even think you're allowed to do that in the HGC anymore, but in Hero League, that's exactly what would happen. The taunts, the voice lines, oh my goodness. Oh no, they're committing to it because they saw a couple of members online top.
He sees it. Leyline is available, but so is Holy Ground.
Okay.
Holy Ground could be the saving grace, but I think he has to activate it early. He goes in. Holy Ground is beautiful. Boss is confirmed. Leyline was not dropped. There's the Apocalypse. The Tormented Soul is crushing through, but BTG are getting wrecked by the Dragon Blade. And that, well, Cassia tries to kill off Genji, but Deflect just wrecks her. And 619, the only survivor, and that was a massacre, Kendrick.
Wow, the Leyline Seal came through, so that was well done by the Medivh. Unfortunately, the Junkrat Concussion Mine was even better. Well, Leyline Seal is cool and all, but if you don't have anyone on the platform, it's not going to work out. So the fact that Medivh was actually flung over the wall prevented them from getting any progress on the capture bar. So that was so well done by the one with the help of Tyrael and the Sanctification, and an almost full HP boss now. They're trying to seal the deal. 2 seconds, 3 seconds until Beyond the Game comes back. The core is falling way too rapidly, Tetra, and game number 1 goes over to the one after a fantastic boss battle.
Nicely done by the one. Something else I want to point out from that last fight as well is Tyrael actually positioned himself very well. When you're in that situation where you know you could be interrupted by a gust or a ley line or anything like